Today we have a crazy story of someone who messed up cleaning their dog's mess and ending up in the ER. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, today I messed up by accidentally poisoning my roommate. Hi Reddit, I would like to clarify two things before telling this story. One, my roommate is completely fine. This isn't a whoops, spilled my cyanide in her coffee story, it was non-lethal. Two, me and my roommate are both laughing about this now. She's not upset with me as it was a genuine freak-up. I, 20-year-old male, have lived with my roommate Laura, 21-year-old female, for about 2 months. We met the first week of college and became instant best friends, and recently decided to rent an apartment just off campus so we have some freedom. I love living with her, it's the best. We have the same views and standards on cleanliness, noise, bringing people over, and most importantly, individuality. We are very aware that we have some things just for ourselves, time, space, but also certain things around the apartment and food. Our fridge is divided into 3 sections. One large section is dedicated to shareables, milk, eggs, cheese, drinks, things that are sort of necessities. Then the 2 smaller sections are our spaces. One for my stuff, one for hers. This is very important as there are certain things we cannot get mixed up. One of these things is my smoothies. Throughout my life, I've suffered a lot of digestive health issues. When I was 3, I had an intestinal blockage that almost ended me. At 12, I was rushed to the hospital because my pancreas had started to rupture. Then, 2 years later, I had to have my gallbladder removed because of biliary dyskinesia. Finally, when I was 17, I was diagnosed with IBS and a small list of intestinal issues. When the doctors diagnosed me with all of these, they recommended probiotic/laxative smoothies to help with the issues. Laura is very aware of my issues and what the smoothies are for. She knows she shouldn't take them because, well, they're medicine, and who would willingly just drink a laxative and/or probiotic for no reason? Every once in a while, when I'm making a weekly supply, I'll clean out my blender and make her some smoothies when I'm done. It's not uncommon for her to come home and open the fridge to find 3 or 4 smoothies on her side of the fridge. Now to the freak up, this was bad. So this afternoon, I had about 1,000,000 things to do after work and only about 2 hours to get everything done. I was going to a party around 6 p.m., get off work at 2:30. It was my best friend's party and was about an hour drive from the apartment. I got home, managed to knock everything off my to-do list, shower, get dressed, and barely made it out the door on time. I had baked brownies last night for the party that were being kept on my side of the fridge. When I went to grab them, I moved my smoothies out of the way and forgot to move them back. It hadn't even registered in my brain that they were there. I was on complete autopilot. I get to the party on time, not even remotely thinking about the fact that I had left 2 laxative smoothies on my roommate's side of the fridge on accident. God, I feel so bad. About an hour into the party, Laura texts me. She said, "Hey, thanks for making me the smoothies. I had a really rough day at work and needed something good. I'll tell you about it when you're home, X." I read the text and thought, wait, I didn't make her any smoothies. I texted her exactly that, explaining I didn't make her any. That's when it hit me. Realization came crashing into me like a truck. I quickly texted, "Wait, don't drink one, they're my smoothies." But the damage had already been done. Since it was a normal occurrence for me to make her some, she didn't even think of the possibility they could be mine, and drank one as soon as she saw them. I tried calling her, but it declined right after I got a text saying, "Too little too late, pray for me." I was seriously worried about her. I know some people hear laxatives and think, haha, funny prank, let's make someone crap a lot, but they can really be dangerous. There's always the chance, like with any other medicine, you might have a bad reaction to it. If you're dehydrated, you can suffer kidney damage, heart palpitations, and sometimes death. I called her about 10 times before she picked up, explained to me that she was okay, and that she wasn't upset and forgave me. I got home around 10 to find my roommate curled up on the couch. She said other than a stomach ache and a small headache, she was fine. I ran to the gas station and got her some Gatorade and Propel, and now we're laying in the main room watching Watchmen. I'm glad she isn't mad at me, and I still feel like a moron and so bad about it. I'll probably go out tomorrow and get her flowers as an apology. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing my major freak up. Well, I'm glad, first of all, that OP didn't end their roommate, but I gotta say, these co-ed roommates that are getting flowers for each other when they messed up sure are great friends. Slight Dingo Problem 91 commented, Aw, you two sound like you have a wonderful relationship. Don't beat yourself up about it too much. Accidents happen, and the fact that you're taking it so seriously shows you how awesome you are as a person. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy hearing stories of how Redditors severely messed up, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, Today I Messed Up. I won a government surplus auction. I get a break here because it happened when I was 13 years old. I was a young wannabe photographer, and I'd been researching the cost of setting up my own darkroom. It's a mostly lost art. You need an enlarger. They ran from very simple optical lamps for under $100 to super sophisticated models that ran over $1,000, film tanks, chemicals, paper, and dozens of other pieces of equipment. Plus, you needed a light-proof room with decent ventilation. My parents were mostly supportive, if not mostly disinterested. I was allowed to come and go as I please, and they were willing to let me use an unused bathroom at our house to set up my erstwhile darkroom. I just never had enough money to do it, so I used to have to use a rented darkroom at a local studio that charged by the hour. My 15-year-old brother was a very early computer nerd and phone freak. Early hackers used to Captain Crunch whistle to get free calls, but that's a whole different story. He had different projects going on all the time. Some pretty sketchy. He used to buy stuff from the US government, they mailed books for auctions and surplus disposal. He had set up a bidding account and had bought crazy used electronics and decommissioned communications devices. It was all through sealed bid offers and conducted solely through snail mail. You would see a listing you wanted, you filled out a bidding form, and then sent it through the mail. If you were the high bid, you would receive a notice, sometimes 4 to 6 weeks later with instructions on payment and drayage. He showed me a brief listing that caught his eye. It's been 50 years, but it went something like, portable field darkroom, enlarger, trays, storage, self-contained with supplies and tools. The listing had dozens of abbreviations and other details that I didn't understand, and it was located 90 miles away in the San Diego area. Shipping was to be coordinated by winning bidder. I was very excited. My brother had gotten electronics and tools for pennies on the dollar. He agreed to send a bid for me. After much deliberation on how much to bid, we came upon the magnificent sum of $80. There was little to no chance that I would win, but who knows? We sent off the bid. When the end date came and went, I breathlessly checked the mail daily to see if I won. Finally, I received a very official-looking envelope with basically a notification and an invoice. I won! We paid through a postal money order and received instructions on where to collect my triumphant spoils. This is where things go sideways. We just had no way of getting the stuff picked up. It was miles away. I didn't even have a bicycle at the time. Thanks, Bobby Dickstein. My brother worked out a deal with a super shady guy named Lance who had a mini truck for a tank of gas and some swiped booze. My parents were super light drinkers. By the time I moved out, the bottles behind their bar were 90% water. We were mobile. We drove down to the warehouse with my paperwork in hand. Turns out we were going to a Marine base. There we were, my brother, a slightly chubby freckled redhead, me, a scrawny prepubescent doofus, and Lance, a long-haired stoner straight out of Dazed and Confused. 15 years ahead of time, but period correct. He was wearing a Mr. Zog's hooked up wax t-shirt. As we got closer to the gate, Lance starts freaking out. He's got pot on him and no ID. After we explained who we were and why we were there, the gate guard had us drive to a holding area. Do not exit the vehicle. Do not drive past the second fence. After about 25 minutes, a very stern-looking guy came out and walked around the truck. "Gentlemen, I understand you're here to receive a parcel." "Yes, sir." They say, "Do not address me as sir. I work for a living." I may have made this up. "I'm Gunnery Sergeant Jones." "Is this the vehicle in which you intend to remove your property?" "Yes, Gunnery Sergeant." They say, "Well, who is OP?" I say, "Well, me, sir. Gunnery Sergeant." He said to follow him. He took us to a dusty field and storage yard where we passed building after building of neglected green junk. Everything was covered in tarps and tied with a rope. He finally stopped and said, "Do you see the problem here?" "Huh? What?" "This is your dark room." We were in front of a dilapidated 20-foot trailer from no later than 1960. It was filthy and sitting on very low tires. He opened the door. Go ahead. Watch out for mice and spiders. Inside was as crappy and rotted as the exterior. Boxes of old photographic supplies, unrecognizable canisters, and an ancient vintage enlarger that was probably state-of-the-art. When Ike was in the White House, I was crestfallen, feeling dumb. Gunny chimed in, I don't think Cheech's rig will tow this thing. Tow this thing? I wanted to get out of here and never look back. I said, what happens if we don't pick it up? They replied, kid, unless you're hiding a diesel rig somewhere, that thing is going nowhere. We left. The coup de grace, my brother and I left. As much as I wanted to split the blame with him, he was older, this was on me. I told him it was a great deal and that I knew everything on the listing. My money was gone, thanks Gerald Ford, but the worst was yet to come. Sometime in the next few weeks, we started getting official-looking abandoned property letters and notice of forfeiture, and then it happened. I came home from school one afternoon, and there in front of my house was the green beast. My horror was compounded by the fact that it was blocking the driveway. There was no hiding from this. I went inside the house. I remember closing the drapes as if my parents wouldn't notice it when they came home, and started frantically calling the numbers I had for the warehouse. It was about 3 or 4 tries in when I finally got someone on the line who could help. They said, yeah, we had a load going to Oxnard and Gunny said to drop it off on the way. I said, are you crazy? I'm a 13-year-old kid. The guy on the other end said, well, according to the Department of Disposal, you're the owner of a surplus trailer, and hung up. About this time, a small group of nosy-butt neighbors and kids, mostly my friends, had gathered around to see the green behemoth. This was perfect timing, as my dad was rounding the corner in his brown 1972 Fleetwood Brougham, which was a tank in its own right. My parents weren't exactly engaged helicopter parents. My siblings and I pretty much did whatever we wanted with little or no supervision. They only got involved when our antics disrupted their lives, like now. My dad was not Ward Cleaver. He basically said, deal with it. Over the next few days, I cleaned it out and was able to move it so it wasn't blocking the driveway. 8 kids pushing it. After a few days, we decided to run an ad in the LA Recycler. If you know, you know. I sold it to a hippie who showed up in a vintage postal truck and gave me $50. I eventually built my darkroom, and my family still teases me about the beast. I will say, one thing OP can brag about to this day is that they got the government to ship them a giant trailer for free. Well, besides the initial $80 purchase, but still. I think it also especially tells you all you need to know about that trailer, that they were more than happy to ship it out themselves, even though that means hooking up a diesel truck to it and sending it 90 miles away. They'd rather do that than pay some contractor to come out there and just trash the thing. Luna Andromeda commented, as a fellow computer nerd, artist, and cybersec grad who interfaces with DoD folks regularly, I loved everything about this post. Totally tracks. Thanks for the chuckles. Our next story is, today I messed up by not knowing who I was talking to at work. This just happened, and I don't think there will be repercussions, but it still doesn't look good. I was delivering papers to the mailroom at work, and afterwards, I decided to swing by the bathroom before heading back to work and to waste a little time. On the way to the bathroom, a lady cheerfully asked me how I was doing, and I said, meh, it's alright I guess. Usually that's good enough, but she replied, only meh? How come? So I replied with, well, personal life isn't great, and then I spend 8 hours at a place I don't like for less pay than I'd like, so I don't know. And shrugged. She replied, now you'd probably expect with, oh, okay, well, I hope it gets better. Well, what I forgot was that the mailroom is on the same floor as the executive offices, and an employee further down the hall, who had seen our interaction, informed me that I had just spoken with the COO of the company. Well, I guess the COO of the company can say OP's at least nothing if not honest. I mean, to be honest, if I was in leadership and I talked to somebody and they said, well, I'm working here 8 hours for less pay than I would really like, I probably wouldn't say it outward, but in my mind I'd probably think like, fair enough. Like lyricist Smashmouth said, we all could use a little change. The Phil VV commented, I'd really love to get an update on this if anything happens. Odds are she has no idea who you really are and will likely forget your face within a few minutes, but if she does remember you, this might actually be a good thing. Most people will turn into sycophantic yes men in front of the C-suite no matter what they actually think. They fear losing their jobs or facing repercussions if they speak their minds. You didn't have that problem, and as long as you didn't spit on the floor, I don't see you as having been incredibly disrespectful. You were honest and might actually have an impact. OP responded commenting, I appreciate the optimism, but our turnover rate is hovering around 25%, and our net profit is about 50% less than projected due to a bunch of bad lending decisions over the last few years coming to a head. I don't think they really care one way or the other about me being unhappy. I'm actively interviewing for jobs right now that align better with my degree, so hopefully I'll be out of here soon. Our next story is, today I messed up by asking a 5-year-old if he had any questions. So I work as a pediatric nurse, and today I had a sweet little 5-year-old patient. Everything was going fine, and at the end of the visit, I tried to be nice and professional, so I asked him, do you have any questions? I expected something like, when can I go home, or do I get a sticker? Instead, without hesitation, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, why don't sharks have eyebrows? I completely froze. My brain went blank. I've studied medicine, childcare, and 1,000 other things, but not once in my entire education has anyone prepared me for that kind of question. I tried to laugh it off and told him I would do some research, but honestly, I'm still thinking about it. I left the room questioning my entire existence. Why don't sharks have eyebrows? Do fish even need them? Am I dumb for not knowing? Google didn't help much either. Anyway, that 5-year-old destroyed my confidence in 3 seconds flat. Now, I'm not an expert, I haven't read the comments, so I haven't skimmed and gleaned some expert opinion from some other Redditor. My only BS radar offering is just classification. Mammals. There's a lot of mammals out there that have eyebrows. Even dogs have different color fur there. I don't think I've seen any fish and by extension sharks that have really hair, let alone eyebrows. I mean, the closest thing I can think of off the top of my head is catfish whiskers, but even that I wouldn't really call hair. Although having just Googled it, apparently there's a thing called a hairy frogfish, which is quite a doozy. You should take a moment to look it up. PM me commented, to answer you and the 5-year-old, you don't need eyebrows underwater. They evolved in terrestrial mammals to divert dirt and sweat, and in humans, they also became important for facial communication. Underwater animals developed different adaptations instead. Things like a third eyelid, rolling the eyes backward for protection, or special eye lubricants. Our next story is, today I messed up by telling my son to go get his girl. I'm not sure if this is coincidence or something much greater at work. When my parents met, my mom's parents didn't like my dad because they thought he was a punk and a failure. They didn't want them to get married, but they got married anyways. My wife's parents also didn't like me because I flunked out of a college and went to trade school, and I'm doing well now, but back then my future was uncertain. We got married anyways. Our son's now 24, and you guessed it, the girl he likes, his parents don't like him. I wanted my son to be an engineer or get an office job because trade takes a toll on you. I've had a few back and joint problems, but my son wants to be a mechanic and eventually open his own shop. I believe in him and I'll always be here to catch him. He also flunked out of college and currently is living with us until he finishes trade school. Can't even get mad because I started trade school at 22. Like father, like son, as they say. Her parents want a guy who has status because she's studying to be a pharmacist and he's just starting school again at 24. Great for her, but love is love. He was really sad because he says they love each other, so I told him, hey man, if you two love each other and you know she's the one for you, go get your girl. I straight up got legally married to my wife at 22 until we could afford a real wedding, and her parents were livid. My parents ran away together. So he does that. Doesn't tell anyone, not even me, and surprise drops his wedding on a call and says, Dad, I did what you said. I got married. I wish he didn't word it like that because now I'm in trouble. Her parents and my wife are livid. They're pressuring them to get the marriage annulled and wait till graduation. Her parents straight up want them to never see each other again. But I don't regret it one bit. Maybe it's a coincidence or maybe there's just something greater at work. It takes two to tango here. It's not like the son sprung this up on her and said, "Come on, we have to go do this. My dad said we have to get married now." She was into it enough to sign up for it. Would I say it's necessarily like the smart thing to do? I feel like the jury is out on that one. But regardless, I see it as a time for OP to kind of double down. Say, "I'm here for you guys. Even if her parents never want to see her again and disown her, you'll always still have me, the guy who nudged you to parachute off the cliff you did." Dragon Tiger Boss commented, "Tell them to think of it as an investment. If they waited until graduation, you'd all have to pay for the wedding. You saved a crap load of money." This will not help the situation, by the way. Our next story is, today I messed up by eating ghost pepper sour cream and throwing up. So I had used orange and lime juice making lunch, but only half and orange and lime. I decided, hey, I eat lemon juice with yogurt and sugar sometimes. I'll make that to finish it off. But no yogurt, it has mold, so I got sour cream. And I noticed I had a ghost pepper that had been sitting around for a day or two, so I diced it with the sugar and put it in the sour cream. I then ate the abomination, but then, of course, it burned and was also too sweet, so I added rice vinegar. It burned, of course, and I drank milk, but that made it worse, for now my stomach felt like it was gonna explode. Take me to the hospital, I'm gonna pass level explode. And then I threw up and felt quite a bit better. Yeah, so welcome to my cooking YouTube video and or podcast about what not to make. You're gonna need a few recipes, half a orange and lime, no yogurt because that's got mold on it, some sour cream, ghost pepper, sugar, rice vinegar. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even usually have like half of the stuff OP even mentioned in my house. I need to eat some more fruit. I am so alternative commented, "I'm glad that you're no longer suffering, and I think that now might be an excellent time to rethink your culinary experimentation. Almost every step of this could have been avoided. Your instincts are bad. Consider recipes." Our next story is, today I messed up by cleaning old dog peepee and ending up in the ER. So earlier today I was cleaning the bathroom. I have a tall laundry basket that I keep in there for dirty clothes, etc. It's the kind that has small holes going up the sides. I usually keep a thick black plastic bag in there to keep the smell of the dirty clothes in. Well, as I was cleaning, I noticed the laundry basket had a little yellowing to it at the bottom. When I bent down, I realized that my two dogs have been sneak peeing on the laundry basket. So I take the bag out and, of course, there it is, semi-dried and nasty pee in the bottom of the laundry basket. In my head, I'm thinking, this needs to be sanitized immediately. So here's where I freaked up. I put the laundry basket into the tub and grabbed the first sanitizing thing I see, concentrated bleach. And I pour. As soon as I pour the bleach onto the pee, I knew I messed up bad because it instantly started bubbling. It created toxic chlorine ammonia gas. I turned the tub faucet on full blast into the mix, knocked the basket over in the tub so it could drain, and ran out of the bathroom to grab a rag to wrap around my face. I wasn't fast enough though because my eyes and nose were on fire. Once I got back into the bathroom, most of the mix had gone down the drain and I took the basket outside. After a few minutes breathing real air, I went back in and opened up all the doors and put all the fans on high. My eyes were still stinging pretty bad, my nose felt burnt, and my face felt tight. I sat down to play some Holdfast video game, thinking I didn't get it that bad, but after a few minutes of trying to shoot the cannon through my tears, I decided I might need to go to the hospital. So I make it to the ER, and they take one look at me and send me straight to triage. Here's where it gets better. The triage nurse looks at my eyes and says we need to get you to the eye wash station for 15 minutes to wash your eyes out because they have mild chemical burns. There's one just around the corner in the bathroom. Let me tell you guys that the nurse was just as surprised as me to say that the eye wash station was no longer in that bathroom. So she goes to find an eye wash station while I sit there with my eyes just crying, and let me tell you, there was no eye wash station on the ER floor. So this other nice nurse says there's one up in the ICU for sure, across from that nurse's station. So a whole other nice nurse takes me up a floor to the ICU, where we go to that bathroom where there is no eye wash station. We find another bathroom and another, and no eye wash stations anywhere. So finally I say, hey, I've worked in a lot of kitchens and restaurants. There's always an eye wash station next to the dish pit, so we go all the way down to the hospital cafeteria where I stand against the wall and wait for the nurse to see if there's an eye wash station in the kitchen. I waited for a while, too. When she came back, she was holding 2 bottles in her hand. Portable eye wash kit. The kitchen only had 2 of those and no others, and they needed them back, but yes, I could use them. The kitchen didn't have an eye wash station either. Come to find out later on, the hospital had just gotten remodeled, and no one anywhere in the hospital thought to have an eye wash station reinstalled anywhere in any bathroom on the whole premises. So a nice nurse takes me back to the ER area with bottles, and we go to a bathroom where I stand over the sink for 15 minutes squishing these bottles into my eyes, making small talk with the nice nurse who has to stand there and time me. Finally, I get done with that and they sit me in a room until a different nurse comes to look at my eyes, listen to my lungs, and basically make sure I don't have chemical burns anywhere else. Nose is a bit crispy right inside, but since I didn't breathe in, I was okay. She leaves and I wait for a little longer for the doctor to come in. He prescribes 500 units in each eye with a Morgan's lens. So I sat there and let the nurse put these crazy lenses in my eyes after some numbing drops, and they did a wash of my eyes. Craziest feeling ever, guys. I'm home now finally. My eyes hurt like heck, and I've got 10 days of eye drops prescribed every 3 hours. So in case you don't know, don't clean urine with bleach, especially old dried urine, which is basically just pure ammonia. Update to say that I'm overwhelmed with all the positive comments on here. Thanks so much, guys. I've been a bit busy the past few days. First week back at school. I'm finally on the other side and can say my eyes are much better. Still a little bleary, but the drops are working great and the headache and acrid nose burn feeling is gone. I appreciate everyone in this thread, and I'm super happy that this freak up has informed so many people not to be a big dummy like me. Be safe out there to everyone. You know, this exact thing is why I've questioned so many bathroom cleaning things. Let me narrow that more down to toilet cleaning things. There's so many toilet cleansers that have bleach in the chemicals, and it definitely makes me very wary, even though I know there's really only kind of trace amounts when you're cleaning a toilet regularly to use that kind of stuff. Miss Polytheist commented, "Feel better. Sincerely. I have Graves and had an eye surgery, both eyes earlier this year, and eye stuff is pretty crazy." Having said that, you know the holes are there on the hamper to let air in, to circulate and air out the dirty clothes, right? I think using a bag probably makes whatever smell is going on in the clothes worse. But actually, if you have dogs peeing on the hamper, maybe you do need that bag. Our next story is, today I messed up by trying to impress my boss on Zoom. So this happened yesterday. I work remotely and we had a big client meeting scheduled with my boss and about 12 other people on Zoom. I thought, this is my chance to look sharp and professional, so I put on my best shirt, fixed my hair, and even practiced my attentive nodding in the mirror. The problem is, I only dressed from the waist up. Below camera level, I was rocking SpongeBob pajama shorts. No big deal, right? I've been doing this for years. Halfway through the meeting, my boss says, "Can you share your screen, but also grab that binder from your shelf? It'll be easier to explain." Now, my shelf is about 3 feet behind me. I figured I'll just stand up quickly, grab it, and sit back down before anyone notices. What I didn't account for was 2 things. My webcam was tilted down slightly. My pajama shorts are bright yellow with little Patrick stars all over them. I stood up, heard a weird silence, and the clients burst out laughing. My boss mutters, "Oh my God," and one of the senior managers goes, "Nice outfit, champ." In panic mode, I knocked over my coffee mug, which spilled directly onto my keyboard. Zoom immediately froze on the most unflattering screenshot of me standing in SpongeBob shorts with my mouth wide open like I'd just seen a ghost. Needless to say, I spent the rest of the meeting quietly listening on my phone while IT tried to resuscitate my laptop. Now my new office nickname is SpongeBob Executive Pants. Now, to be fair, I think it's very common for people to do what OP did here. It's kind of the same thing as a mullet, business in the front, party in the back. I would say, if anything, at least it was SpongeBob pajama pants, because I've heard of plenty of people out there who rock all the way down to their skivvies. Now imagine if OP stood up to grab that thing off the shelf and they were wearing their SpongeBob boxers. The real move there is either accidentally turn off the webcam, Or make sure you do all your Zoom calls from a laptop so you can just like pick it up and take it with you over to the shelf. You don't ever have to point down. You know, just go pick up a laptop if you don't have one. Real convenient, I know. Engineer Dad commented, "We're way too far into work from home for you to be failing this hard at it. Wear whatever you want below the waist, but act accordingly. You don't need to be a cautionary tale. We already have thousands of them on YouTube." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another crazy story of a Redditor who severely messed up, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.